Hello, and welcome to the Economics Design Podcast. I'm Kiefer Zhang, and today I'm joined by Nischal Belthan, who leads the Web3 team at Metajuice, the company that built the InView metaverse. InView has been around since 2004, but forayed into crypto with both tokens and NFTs in the past few years, and currently attracts over 4 million monthly active users. Nischal, thanks so much for joining me today.
A pleasure to be on. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So to start things off, could you maybe give some additional background about yourself and InView?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So as you mentioned before, InView has been around since 2004. It is one of the OG metaverses. It's in the same genre as the Second Life. And it was meant to be a way where people could express themselves through 3D avatars. We have a lot of virtual rooms, settings where people can have social gatherings, parties, and the like. So the metaverse itself has been around for a while. InView started the journey to convert itself into a Web3 economy about 3 years back. So to that end, I was brought in to help transition a Web2 economy, a very large Web2 economy, into a Web3 economy. So we are still in very early days of doing that. And I've been here since early 2022. Prior to that, I used to work for an NFT company called Unstoppable Domains, where I led all the partner integrations with wallets and exchanges. And before that, I was at Triple Labs for 3 years. I was one of the first hires on the technical services team. And I eventually grew and scaled that team to service customers around the world. And the team was responsible for implementing and supporting Ripple on-demand liquidity, basically their crypto cross-border payment solution for all their customers around the world.
Yeah, it's a really interesting journey to be part of a company that has such a huge presence on the Web2 side and making that big transition into adopting some of these Web3 technologies. And so maybe we can dig a little bit into some of those new Web3 components that were added on, maybe starting off on the token side. So from my understanding, you have 2 tokens in the ecosystem. One of them is VCOIN. And so that has a fixed exchange rate against the US dollar, can be acquired with a credit card and easily converted back to cash at a stable rate or exchanged with other crypto. It's been used as a currency for trades of goods and services on the platform. And then the other side, VCore, which I understand is the newer token to be used for minting, buying and selling NFTs, and also has some governance capabilities. So I want to get both into those, maybe first on the VCoin side. So I'm really curious, what benefits does VCoin have over using fiat or perhaps an external stable coin like USDC?
Absolutely. So originally, for a metaverse, we had credits. So these are just like in-game credits that we used to sell through fiat. And then we worked with the SEC for a long time to get a no action letter for VCoin. So that's one of the big difference. It's one of only 3 tokens to have a SEC no action letter, I believe. And then it probably is the only token that's launched and is actually thriving. I believe USDC, Tether, none of those guys have SEC no action letter, although now they're working closely with the government, but formally they don't have anything like that. Also with USDC, you might have seen there was a scare when Silicon Valley Bank went down where it wasn't sure where all the deposits were, if USDC was going to be okay or not. It depegged for a while and people could have lost some money. Whereas with VCoin, things are very different. With VCoin, we worked with the SEC to get a no action letter. VCoin is backed by the company's balance sheet. So regardless of which bank fails or what's happening on the outside, VCoin will always be backed by InView and by Metajuice, and we'll always support the redemption. The big difference also with VCoin is it's meant for consumptive utility, only meant to be used in our ecosystem. It's meant for people within our ecosystem to purchase digital goods and services on our platform and gift it to their friends or do whatever they want. And then at the point that they no longer need that VCoin, they can cash out. So it has a very limited use case as far as our ecosystem. It's not meant to be used for DeFi or any of these other activities that USDT or any other stablecoins would be. So it's kind of like tailor-made for use within our metaverse. And that's why we got the SEC no action letter, because it was meant for usage within our ecosystem. If you brought in something like USDT, the problem would be, again, you'd have to have a Cryptotopia on-ramp where you'd collect the you'd collect the fiat payment at on-ramp, pay 3, 4, 5% how much they charge. Then the user would have to load it into their own non-custodial wallet, set up the seed phrase and all of that. So it was very complicated to do the entire onboarding for USDC. With VCOIN, what we've done is, because it's so tightly integrated within our ecosystem, you can purchase VCOIN through our iOS app, through our Google Play app, or through our web, and it's all very seamless. For Apple, it goes through Apple Pay. For Google, it goes through Google Pay. And then we have a fiat payment provider processor on the website that'll process the fiat payments on the web as well and give you VCOIN. So it's super seamless for a Web2 audience, and it's natively integrated within the ecosystem. So even before we launched our NFT store last year, you could still use VCOIN to purchase digital services on the platform. And the big use case was gifting and tipping. So anytime in our metaverse, when someone sets up a party or a social gathering, that person's called a host. So they can set up what's called a gated room. You pay a certain amount of money. It's not much, but you pay a few bucks to get another room and have a party with your friends and things like that. So typically those payments used to be made in credits, which is not really Web3. With VCOIN, they were able to pay that in VCOIN, and the hosts were able to cash out. So we have a large community, 200,000 or so creators, and then several hundreds of thousands of hosts who host these rooms, who host these events in the metaverse. And some of them actually depend on this for a living. It's no different than some YouTube creators or TikTok creators who do this full time. We have a thriving community that does that as well. And we wanted them to be able to cash out VCOIN, to be able to cash that out into fiat. So that was the big reason why we went with VCOIN, so that it's easy and seamless for our community without having to worry about non-custodial wallets. And then depending on a provider who could, you didn't know how stable they were. And we kind of saw that during the Terra Luna collapse, where, for a couple of years, everyone thought that USD was going to be the big coin, and there's so much money chasing that. And so, within a couple of days, it went to zero. So there's a lot of risk associated with another party if you depended on them for the stable coin. With us, with VCOIN, we actually back the token. We run the metaverse, closed loop, we maintain it. We also actively monitor for things like fraud, money laundering. We have internal compliance teams, and we make sure none of those activities are happening. And that's how we were able to get the SEC no action letter, as well as, we always maintain the peg. So anytime you want to cash out, we maintain the peg. It's 250 VCOIN to $1. So those are kind of some of the big differences between a VCOIN and another crypto stablecoin like USDC or USDT.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You're really able to control the risk. You're not relying on some other entity to make sure that they're handling all of this from a legal regulatory perspective. And I can also see there being some benefits around kind of having your own branding around it and changing kind of the denominations, something that's useful for you, especially if you're dealing with like very small value payments. You can make, it doesn't have to be dollars and cents. You can make it kind of up to you how you set that denomination. And so maybe switching a little bit over to the other token, VCOR. So since you already have what seems to be a very successful on-chain currency, so why do you now choose to introduce VCOR into the system?
Absolutely. So VCOIN has been very successful. We have well over 1 million wallets. We are approaching 1.5 million wallets that have VCOIN. So it's probably one of the biggest cryptocurrencies out there as far as how many wallets own it, at least one of the biggest metaverse ones. We wanted to introduce VCOR for a couple of reasons. One was because VCOIN is locked into our ecosystem. You could never do things like decentralized governance. And we're very early in our journey, in our Web2 to Web3 journey. Our goal is to eventually transform our economy into a Web3 economy. But we're playing it safe. We're doing it slow because our audience is not Web3 savvy. They're not used to things like non-custodial wallets. So for VCOIN, we set up a custodial wallet infrastructure where we maintain all the token balances and we cash folks out. But slowly we wanted to introduce ability for people to bring in their own token if they wanted to. Now they can't do that with VCOIN because we are the only ones who sell VCOIN. VCOIN is also not exchange traded because we back the token and we don't want it out there in the ecosystem and for people using it for DeFi or any other speculative activities. So you cannot do a lot of things with VCOIN and you're kind of restricted to that. But there are people, people in our community when we launched an NFT store last year. Folks, a lot of people from outside of you as well came and asked us, hey, can we buy your NFTs on OpenSea or a different marketplace? So there was a lot of demand for NFTs, even outside our ecosystem. And then there was people who are Web3 savvy. It's not a big percentage of our user base, but they were like, hey, can I bring my tokens into your ecosystem? I see you support NFTs. I see you support your own token, but could I bring another token? And what if I wanted to buy, your NFTs with Ethereum that I have in my wallet? So there were all these other considerations around having a token that could be out there in the ecosystem. Anyone could trade on an exchange, take self-custody of it. With the NFTs, we are allowing people eventually to take self-custody of their NFTs. Why not give them the same with a crypto token as well? Or allow someone who has VCOIN to be able to purchase that on OpenSea as we build out more integrations or Blur or any other marketplace that supports our collections. So that was kind of the driver for why we wanted to introduce VCOIN in the short term, is to have compatibility with, the rest of the ecosystem, the Web3 ecosystem. Longer term, as we decentralize, the goal was to give our creators a host, ways in which they can actually vote on the future of the ecosystem. So basically governance, decentralized governance, where if you hold the token, you can tell, what you want to see on the product. You want to see, you want to have a voice in how the product is built out. So currently we do that through, reaching out to like our top creators and folks. So it's not a very decentralized way of doing it. We don't gauge, how many tokens you're holding or things like that. It's typically, hey, when we launch our NFT store, we got some of our top creators, had them created and got feedback from them. But we want to eventually decentralize it. So anyone who holds the token can go on something like a snapshot, decentralized governance platform, vote their initiative. And with VCOR, as there's more VCOR out there over the next few years, there'll be a lot of folks holding the token who want more of a say in how the ecosystem expands and how the metaverse is built out. So those were kind of the key considerations. One was interoperability, and then the second part was governance for the platform itself. And that's part of the reason why we introduced VCOR.
Interesting. Yeah, it really seems like the next evolution of a shift more towards this, towards the Web3 ethos, while still having these other options that are still bringing along your existing user base. So it seems like a very natural evolution there. So switching over a little bit more towards the NFT and the asset side, and you started from these Web 2 goods, these different types of clothing for the different participants in the metaverse, and now you're doing some equivalent versions, but as NFTs. And so in Web 2, the accessibility of goods is, from an economic sense, is controlled through the primary market pricing. You're setting the price maybe in dollars or credits or VCOIN through the primary market. While in Web 3, it's more often based on the supply that is set, then going and driving the secondary market pricing. And so that really creates an important decision around what supply are we actually setting for these. So I'm curious, how does prioritizing accessibility versus status factor into your decisions when issuing a certain quantity of NFTs, or thinking about maybe how many NFTs a creator might be allowed to issue?
Yeah. So the way we did our NFT store was when we launched it thus far, all the NFTs were initially created by us. So we created a first one-of-one, about 78 or so NFTs. So we over the last 6 months or so, we've been ironing out the kinks with the store. So it was the new store that we launched, and we wanted to see how the community perceives it. So we've done about 100,000 NFT sales, primary and secondary, and we partnered with brands. We partnered with some influencers to create those. Our main goal was never for us to be the main supplier of NFTs. This was just to gauge the market and then give our user base a feel for what NFTs would look like in the ecosystem. Our real goal was to empower creators. So we have like 200,000 creators who create approximately 10,000 items every day. All of these items go through peer review and things like that. So we make sure that you're not going through infringe a copyright, or there's going to be a DMCA takedown and things like that. So we kind of vet those items that go on the marketplace. But the goal was to empower these creators to create their own NFTs. And to that end, just this morning, we announced we opened up our NFT tool set to all our creators. So now creators can actually create their NFTs. The folks who used to create regular digital goods can start creating NFTs. What we've done with NFTs is when we sold these NFTs, we sold them at a very low price. It was never our intention to sell an NFT for 1 ETH, 2 ETH, or anything like that. Or we never expected to have like a board ape on our platform. Our goal was consumptive utility, that folks take these NFTs and actually use it on the platform. And we want it to be accessible for everyone. So the initial set of NFTs we launched was anywhere from, I believe, $4 to $8. And since then, all the NFTs we created have always been less than $10. They've mostly been in like the low single digit range. So we kept the pricing low. We wanted it to be accessible. We wanted our community to enjoy NFTs, play around with it, give us feedback. So all of the 100,000 or so NFTs have been extremely low priced. We kept it to limited quantity because NFTs are rare, and the ones you're creating were either one-of-ones or super limited quantity, so that people, the user base, could get different variety of NFT and digital creations. Now with the creator ecosystem, they set their own prices. The creators set their own prices for what they think they're good to sell for. In the Web2 economy, when a creator creates, for example, a digital shirt or digital pet, it's unlimited supply. So they created once it's approved, anytime it sells, it can keep selling. But with NFTs, we've kept the max supply limited. It can only be 1,000 at most per collection. So what it incentivizes creators to do is make higher quality, lower quantity items. So what we have seen, we ran a little bit of a pilot over the last couple of months with a small group of creators to have them create NFTs. So most of them were just creating a few hundred for each because they wanted these items to be unique, sell for more. And they liked the concept of royalties as well, because with NFTs, there's royalties baked in. So anytime there's a secondary trade, there are royalties from that as well. With the regular digital item, they don't have royalties. There's no secondary trading. So once they sell the item, that's it. The item sells. They keep the credit to whatever that it sells for. But with NFTs, they like the fact that even if it sells 10 years down the line, they get that 5% credited into their account in the form of a crypto token, which is VCOIN or VCOIN. So the maximum quantity is limited to 1,000, but based on what we've seen on the limited beta that we ran with a small group of creators, most folks are creating NFTs in the low hundreds, and they're selling out very quickly. I think some of the first ones sold out in a matter of minutes. All the NFTs have been sold out, very well received by the community, and everyone loves them. And then we let the secondary market decide what the pricing will be. I mean, we never interfere. If you want to list an item for sale, there's a listing fee and a platform fee, and there's a royalty that gets paid out to the creator. But after that, price discovery happens on the secondary. Pretty much everyone that's buying is buying it for using it within the metaverse. There are a few Web3 collectors on our platform who have bid up certain items, especially the one-of-ones, into probably the few thousands of dollars. But again, we measure our success not by how expensive items get. We want items to be low price. We want to get as many NFTs out there as possible. Once a creator ecosystem takes off, we say we're successful if we have millions of NFTs trading on the platform next year. So that's our goal, is getting low priced NFTs that people can actually use. And then if they don't want it, they can sell it or gift it to their friends because they made friends in a party or a social gathering or something like that. And then the creator on the royalty on those items.
Interesting. Yeah, I think this is definitely a little bit of departure from a lot of, at least how NFTs have been perceived, especially when we're talking about things on chains like Ethereum, and I think initially a lot of that came from their high gas fees. So it's only really targeting the very wealthy whales for kind of the popular NFTs, and so it was just this focus on this higher class of users, and now you're able to kind of diversify and target different segments here, and it seems like you're really focusing in on accessibility and kind of the lower costs and being approachable to a lot of users. Which I think is a great path towards that wider adoption. And so something that we've seen with a lot of these other assets in the past, especially on the kind of the high-end things on Ethereum, is the potential for speculation. And so I'm wondering, has speculation or the potential for it to exist factored into your design at all for the NFT implementation? And how have you seen speculative activity actually play out in practice?
Absolutely. So it has factored into our design in the sense that we didn't want speculation. We didn't want massive price run up. So what we've done is we've limited our NFT collections just to our ecosystem. So the only way you can purchase Realist to NFTs for sale at the moment is on the MU platform. And the reason we did that is we had the option of opening it up to the entire wide world because anyone could buy it, but we wanted our community to have first dibs and to actually use it. We didn't want speculators coming in, buying the one-of-ones or limited edition or a certain brand partnership we did. If they were popular, just buying it up and making it unaffordable for a user base. So we've limited our NFTs for now just within our ecosystem, and we have a lot of buyers. We sell almost 20 million digital goods each month. These are non-NFTs. So there's plenty of buyers. We wanted them to actually use it. So our main focus was consumptive utility. Hey, use these NFTs on a platform, show it off to friends, whatever, and then, either you hang on to it or you sell it. Now, that said, there's a few Web3 collectors on a platform who just, like the prestige of having a one-of-one. So they have run up the price now, but it wasn't because they were expecting it to flip it to the next user. They just wanted to have the privilege of owning, one of the first NFTs on a platform. And we've had other people come and ask that, hey, can we buy off platform or these off platform? But it's like, no, you'd have to come into a platform and buy it. We will slowly open up the ecosystem as there's more NFTs, more supply of NFTs. We want to be compatible with every other marketplace and listed elsewhere. But we made a conscious decision to keep speculation out and just focus on folks who want to use it and the loyal users who want to use the NFT. So that's kind of what our focus has been, and we aim to, obviously it's a free market, so people can pay whatever they want for a digital good, but that's not our main goal. Our main goal is getting as many NFTs, low price NFTs out there as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and something it seems like is a tool in your toolbox is, even though you're making these commitments to have a fixed supply of a certain good, so it's fixed there, you sort of have, I've called it in other contexts, like substitutive inflation of, yes, like there's only going to be one of this specific hat, but if there starts to be a little bit too much speculation on this, you can create a lot of potentially somewhat similar hats that have their own supply restrictions, but would be seen as substitutes from potential buyers. And so that isn't that kind of thing that you can use to kind of make adjustments to your supply over time and keep speculation around the range that's actually beneficial for the ecosystem.
Yeah, and we're different from all of the rest of the NFT plays in the sense that we seeded these initial NFTs as a company with brand partnerships and things like that, but that wasn't our goal. Our goal wasn't to be the NFT seller on the platform. Our goal was creators are the ones who are going to take this forward. So it's not like, hey, Yoga Labs, you're going to wait 6 months, they'll do an airdrop of another NFT, or they'll open up something. You're dependent on a centralized company to come up with innovations, new designs, new experiences. In our case, the creators, the hosts are the ones who are creating all of these, and our entire ecosystem is about them. It's not about us putting out NFTs. So it was mainly to empower them. Our creators have a brilliant peer review system where they actually review these items. So if the items are knockoff or this has very minor changes, those will get shut down. And the focus again is on creating high quality goods. So it actually forces them to make better digital goods than that are more in demand in the market.
Yeah, that user generated content component is huge, and I think I'm assuming it's one of the big reasons that you have found success so far, and I'm assuming you will continue to be successful in the future. And in thinking a little bit deeper in the kind of pricing and spending behavior that you've seen across your existing Web 2 assets and Web 3 assets, I want to dig a little bit more into that, because I think this is an area that a lot of teams are very interested in. So, like, how do people actually respond to the ability to buy an asset that you can resell, since you have kind of the context of both of these Web 2 and Web 3 worlds? I know you probably can't say specific numbers, but generally, just what have you seen in terms of different spending behavior between NFTs and off-chain assets? Also curious if that differs between like limited and unlimited items. Although I guess in this case, the NFTs across the board are going to be limited.
Exactly. So NFTs are always limited, max supply of 1,000. The unlimited items, regular digital items, once you create an item, it's unlimited supply. So NFTs are way more desirable for entire ecosystems. The buyers, starting from the beginning, they always wanted NFTs. The creators, once they saw the NFTs, they've been chomping at the bit saying, hey, when do we get the tool where we can start creating NFTs? So NFTs are a big hit and they're priced accordingly. So a typical NFT is going to sell for several times what a digital item does. And again, even with the low dollar value, like regular digital items are super cheap. And NFTs are, in the scheme of things, they're pretty cheap. It's not even a few $100. It's probably, less than $10 for an NFT. But on average, an NFT sells for several times that a regular digital item sells for. There are things in the NFTs that make them desirable. Limited quantity is obviously one of them. The ones of ones are definitely going to be selling for a lot more because they're unique. The one of many, the semi-fungible tokens, are the ones which are probably a little bit lower priced, just as we see on the rest of the NFT collection. And then the other desirability for NFTs on platform is the fact that you could resell. It's good for the buyer because they can always resell it. It's good for the creator because they get royalties. And then eventually, we haven't even unleashed all the benefits of NFTs because once we kind of release our ecosystem, they could sell on other marketplaces, OpenSea or Blur or any of the other ones that decide to list it. You could take your NFTs into your own non-custodial wallet. We haven't enabled that yet because we are still in like the early phases of this journey. So once we release those, our users will actually be able to see all the things that they can do with NFTs. The creators will see, we'll be able to see that, hey, even if the NFT doesn't sell on our platform, it's sold on different platforms that even they may not be aware of, they could actually get a royalty from there. So even without factoring all of the things that we can enable for NFTs, they're already much more desirable. What we also do is we have provided special in Metaverse in-game rendering for NFTs. So anytime you're wearing an NFT, you get certain highlights that indicates that you have an NFT. So folks buying NFTs, wearing them within our rooms, get a lot of digital flex. So it's no different than, you walk to a blockchain conference and you see someone with a Bored Ape, sweatshirt or something that they bought from a token gated store. So it's no different than that, but this is in the virtual world where NFTs are a form of social flex, and anyone having an NFT, even with 100,000 NFTs, that's nothing, right? With 20 million digital goods selling, it's a fraction of a percent that are NFT. So if someone is wearing an NFT as an NFT pet or NFT accessory, they carry a lot of social flex within our metaverse. So that said, again, higher pricing for NFT, a lot more desirability, both from the creator ecosystem as well as the user base.
Yeah, that's really interesting because it's showing that you have the ability to have status goods without it being hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yeah. And so there's that range that, depending on the context, that you kind of can have both, and you're maybe still targeting a slightly higher spender than those who are buying non-NFTs, and so there's still some stratification there. But it doesn't mean that they have to be spending an insane amount of money, which I think is a pretty important point to highlight for a lot of the players that think that NFT means it's all a scam, that they're just trying to make you pay a huge amount of money. That doesn't have to be the case, and you can still get those kind of status benefits.
Exactly.
Yeah, and kind of another question that I think a lot of people have about the impact of NFTs that you might be able to have some insights on is what is the impact on retention? So when you have these assets, like, are the people who are interacting with NFTs or have the capability to get them, are they staying on the platform longer, or just any kind of insights along that you've been able to pull out?
Yeah, so the folks that have the NFT, these are super rare at the moment. They'll continue to be rare, because even with the creator ecosystem, it's going to be less than 1,000 of each. They like the social flex that comes with that. They like showing it off on the platform. I remember when we first did an NFT drop, it was only 78 items sold out within like less than a minute. And then in the second minute, someone was already wearing that and was in a room and everyone was admiring it and asking, where they got it from and what this new thing is. So people love to flex their NFTs. They love to spend more time on the platform. They love showing it off to their friends. They love hanging out with people that have NFTs as well. There are some rooms where people are only wearing NFTs, and it's kind of like a token gated type of room. So it definitely has a big impact on retention. People come back to the platform more because they have a digital good that is valuable on the platform and that they can show off to their friends. There's collectors of NFTs as well. People like collecting NFTs, one of each collection, then they want to make a collection. And we're going to have features very soon where you can actually sell NFTs in a collection, similar to what you can do on OpenSea and other marketplaces. You can set up a collection, one of each of these, with all these different NFTs, and you can sell it. So there's collectors who are constantly looking for new NFTs. You have folks asking, hey, when is the next NFT drop? Where's the creator ecosystem coming out? I would like to get an NFT from this creator. So it brings in a lot more engagement, especially with our creator ecosystem opening up. Most of our user base is waiting to see what type of NFTs are going to come out and which one they can buy. They're jumping at the bit to buy the first creator to the NFT, or one from this creator, another one from this creator, and making a collection out of those. So it definitely has had a big impact on retention. As we turn on more features with self-custody being available on other marketplaces, I think that's just going to increase because that opens up the market for these NFTs to not just our ecosystem, but pretty much everywhere that NFTs can be listed. It will allow folks to take NFTs into their own wallet, maybe take it elsewhere where they can wear it. So we just see that retention improving as we release more features.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And I'm curious, as a follow-up to that, has there been any kind of difference in that effect between users that are maybe newly brought in by these Web3 components that are maybe more Web3 native versus from kind of existing older accounts, in terms of their level of interest in this and potential impacts on their activity?
Yeah, so I would say the newer Web3 folks are on average very, very young, right? They're very young. They probably like speculation more than the older crowd, right? They're the ones who are going to buy and try to sell, or the older crowd is probably the ones who want to collect. They want to collect. They want to hang on to these NFTs. They don't necessarily care about self-custody and things like that, or being available on other marketplaces. The young people are some of the ones who, who obviously bought it because they love NFTs. They love the tech behind it. The older crowd loves more of the utility. The younger crowd loves more of the newer folks like all the things associated with NFT, like interoperability, being able to take it on other platforms, which again, we still haven't enabled, but they've been asking us about it. The ones who've been on the platform for a long time, they like that, hey, these are new items and they get all the special rendering and all the things you can do with it. They like to collect those. We had a system of badges on our platform, and there's people who have collected hundreds of badges. And, you can put them up on your wall and everything like that. This was pre-NFT days a long time back. But the older ones were there, like to collect, and they'd like to keep all their trophy assets there. The newer folks are coming in mainly for the tech because they think NFTs are cool and they think there's a future of digital assets. They see the benefits. They understand the benefits a lot more. And they're willing to pay a high price and maybe flip it or, hang on to it if they want to.
Yeah, very interesting. And yeah, even if it's different motivations, it's encouraging that you're getting some of those older users that are still interacting and seeing the benefits of these assets. And so you mentioned in there the word interoperability, and I think that's something that's been a big buzzword and thrown around a lot in the Web3 space. And I know that's something that Metajuice is definitely focusing on and has as motivation. So I'm curious if some of the reasoning or motivations behind Metajuice pursuing interoperability with other metaverse platforms. So yeah, what are those motivations, and also if there's kind of both ideological and business sides of that?
Yeah, so I would say it's more ideological than business per se. The main goal of interoperability, we joined, I think, a few months back, the Open Metaverse Alliance. It's a gathering of all of the other metaverses, Sandbox, Upland, quite a few of them. and we keep getting more Web3 metaverses added there all the time. The motivation was, if you buy a digital asset, you should be able to use it elsewhere. I think it's the direction that the gaming, social is all going to move in, because right now you could go in a game, buy, skin for your gun or whatever for thousands of dollars, and then you can never resell it. You cannot do anything with it. You can never trade it. Once you spend it, the company gets it, a centralized company gets it, and that's it. But in the future, with NFTs, digital asset ownership, it's just going to open up the entire ecosystem where you should be able to trade it anywhere. No single company should be able to control that. So that's kind of our belief as well. In a Web3 economy, you should be able to take your digital assets anywhere. So we are working with all these other metaverses on ways in which you could buy the digital items that you bought in our ecosystem can be used in other ecosystems, and vice versa as well. So if you bought this cool jetpack in Sandbox, you should be able to bring it into our metaverse, and you should be able to do things with it within our metaverse. I think having that in the future just gives players and access to more experiences. If you bought a cool, digital pet in our metaverse, maybe you take it to Sandbox and you like to put it up there as well. So it doesn't mean that we lose the user. They'll probably come back to buy more items or spend more time on our platform and buy something from Sandbox and bring it back. So I think that's where the future is going to be, where folks don't want to be tied down to this one ecosystem. They may buy things from an ecosystem, take it elsewhere, use it there. They could use it in our plan or Sandbox and, bring items with them here. Again, the other ideological aspect of this is it helps the creators. That's the folks whom we're trying to empower, because if an item sells on Sandbox or becomes super popular on Sandbox, it opens up a whole new market for creators. Not only are they creating items which are popular on Review, they don't have to go on a Sandbox and become a creator there and learn the tool and everything. They can create the same items that get rendered in Sandbox, Upland, or any other metaverse as part of the alliance. And then those digital items, regardless of where they sell, they still incur a royalty that gets paid out to the creator. So that's kind of the big motivation. Is Web3 is going to be interoperable. It's going to be open, and at the base of that is the creator who basically gets more sales from the digital goods being on other platforms. It's going to be the user who's going to be empowered because they can have a variety of different experiences without getting tied down to just one platform. They don't have to go and buy all this whole new set of digital items in Sandbox or a different metaverse. Neither does the creator have to learn any tools. At the same time, they collect royalties for all the sales.
Yeah, I love that because it really seems like the focus at the end of the day is how to make it a better user experience and how to support the creators. And I think that's some great ideals to have and be pursuing and pushing forward within the space. So I definitely respect that. And one more question. I'm very curious, since you've been kind of leading the charge of this transition to Web3, what have you learned in the process of that transition, both on what it's required for the company and also what it's required with interacting with the community?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the big thing that we've learned is you cannot, we have a massive economy. We have like 60 million digital goods in our catalog. Almost 10,000 new goods are created every day. 20 million digital goods are sold each month. You can't just turn on a switch and turn on Web3. And for most people outside of the very technologically savvy crowd, Web3 is still very, very intimidating. Setting up your key phrase, you lose your key phrase, there's no one to call, you cannot get your funds, things like that. Setting up a MetaMask, connecting it to a site, you get the cryptic message you don't even understand, and your funds could be stolen if you don't know what you're doing, right? So it's very, very intimidating for most folks. So we wanted to make it as easy as possible for our Web2 audience to transition into Web3. So you got to take one step at a time. And to that end, we started with VCOIN. We started the journey very slowly. We started with VCOIN. We lit up limited use cases like gifting, tipping, paying for digital services. After that, we introduced the NFT store where you could actually buy items where we build that coin and then sell it. Then we introduced the token that can be exchange traded, where you can actually take self-custody or take it to other platforms where you could buy NFTs for that. So we've all kind of done it in a very phased manner so that it doesn't rattle the community. We want it to be open to both the Web2 crowd and the Web3 crowd as well. We want it to be friendly the experience to be friendly for a Web3 crowd. We built the entire custodial wallet infrastructure to be able to support that. We could have gone the non-custodial way and said, hey, just plug your wallet in. We don't hold your funds. When you're done, take it out. That would have been the easy path. But you took the more difficult route and actually built our custodial wallet infrastructure. It made it easy to scale up to 1.5 million wallets. We made it easy for folks to cash out anytime they wanted to. So it was a very seamless experience for the Web2 audience who are already used to it. So if you're trying to transition a Web2 to a Web3 economy, you've got to take one step at a time. I think Web3 is going to evolve. Web3 is going to become very user-friendly in the next few years. Right now it's intimidating, but there's a lot of smart people working on making it super simple. So that tech is going to evolve. It's going to become as seamless and as native as Web2. So we don't want to, if you have a large Web2 audience, 4 million or so, who's logging in each month and interacting with the platform, you don't want them to introduce a technology that's completely foreign to them. So you can do it instead. And I think eventually Web3 is going to catch up, become seamless, and then you wouldn't know the difference, whether it's Web2 on the back end or Web3. It's all going to be super easy. And that's what we've tried to do, is keep that experience as simple as possible for users.
Wow. Yeah, you guys are really, I think, an example of that other teams should look at as a reference and look up to on how to take a large audience and really have their best interests at the forefront and not pushing the technology on them in a way that is going to negatively impact them, but really showing them and taking the time to do it right, showing them how this can actually add value to their experience, and doing it in a way that's gradual and not rushing things. So I think this is very interesting, and especially you've had a chance to see some of the impacts of those changes on how your community has responded, and so congratulations on that. And I'm very encouraged and excited to see some of how this continues to evolve as you expand the system more with vCore and expand into these other marketplaces as well. And so if people would like to learn more about InView or get in contact with you, what would be the best way for them to do so?
And so I'm available on LinkedIn, Twitter. My handle is NBELTHAN, my first initial and my last name. InView, obviously, you can go to inview.com. We have a web application, we have a desktop application, and then we have iOS and Android application as well. Just go in there and download the app. We are among the top 10 most popular apps on social. You can look at our on-chain stats on DappRadar as well. Again, you can put in InView, it will show our on-chain stats for the Web3 community that wants to look more into InView or be doing on a on-chain stats basis. You can go there and take a look, and then you can download the app. Folks who want to check out our NFTs, just download the app or go to our web store. Our NFT store is integrated everywhere, web as well as iOS and Android. And then you can actually see the type of digital goods that are there for sale, the NFTs that are there for sale, and what you can do with our tokens as well.
All right, Nischal, I really enjoyed this conversation, but I think it's about time we wrap this up. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
And thanks so much for having me.